What would you do if you were seized by the sudden urge to learn how to moonwalk? I know what I would do. I would say, I bet someone has put a helpful video for that on YouTube. And in fact, if you go to YouTube and search for how to moonwalk, you will find that over 300,000 people have in fact put up instructional videos on this extremely important topic. Given that there are so many videos here, how do we know which one to choose? Who is really the best moonwalk teacher? When you're learning something in a classroom, in a formal educational setting, you listen to the teacher and you learn from the resources that the teacher gives you. But when you're finding out how to do something in your everyday life, outside of the classroom, you're doing something called informal learning, in which it's up to you to decide how to learn and what to learn from. On YouTube, if you do a simple search for something like how to change your oil, you will definitely get results. You'll get almost 6 million results. What is it that enables us to find the information we need from this huge array of possibilities, evaluate that information, and integrate it? The answer is this superpower that we all possess called digital literacy. Digital literacy encompasses all of the skills that go in between, I bet I could look up how to change my oil on the internet, and the actual process of changing your oil. So you find the information you need, you interpret it, you evaluate it, and you turn it into actual real-world skills. This happens on YouTube all the time, and this project that I'm presenting to you today is on digital literacy and informal learning on YouTube. I've spent the past 3 months digging into this topic, and now I'm going to give you the whirlwind tour of the research that's available. I'm doing this presentation because I think that you might be interested in this topic, because it's an important topic, and also because I have to do this video in order to complete my master's degree. Digital literacy was first defined by this guy named Paul Gilster in 1997, who wrote the book on the subject. He saw that the old concept of literacy as knowing how to read and write was not going to be enough for the digital world. So he defined a framework that included 4 competencies that he thought would be important to digital literacy: searching for information, navigating digital resources, evaluating information, and knowledge assembly, or putting it all together in a useful way. Now, this framework has stood the test of time. Most people who talk about digital literacy today still use it, or something like it. But this was back in the 90s, remember. The internet was a little bit different back then. So if we're going to talk about digital literacy on YouTube, we need to add another category that researchers have used since then, and that is participation. The internet has become radically more participatory since the 90s. From Wikipedia to blogging to social media to sites like YouTube, where all of the content is generated by users. Being able to participate in this medium is an essential part of digital literacy as we understand it today. So let's take a look at how each of these competencies works in terms of informal learning on YouTube. And as we do so, we'll ask the 2 questions: do we successfully use these skills to learn on YouTube? And do the features of YouTube help us use our digital literacy skills, or do they hurt us in doing so? So of the 5 competencies, let's start with the first one: searching. Searching essentially means what it sounds like. It means finding what you're looking for, knowing what search terms to use, and being willing to sort through all of the results that you get, which can sometimes be overwhelming. On YouTube, if you're looking for a specific video, it's relatively straightforward. You would enter the title of the video, or as close to the title as you can remember, and then you'll know when you find it. But for something like informal learning, in our example changing your oil, you're not looking for a specific video. You have to enter the general search terms that you think will turn up the kind of video that you're looking for. So what does the research say? Well, no one has actually been able to look at YouTube's search data because that's confidential and proprietary. General research says that about half of internet users are confident in their ability to search, and about half are not. There was a study which looked at informal learning on YouTube and how people find videos. And again, they found that a lot of people are confident in their ability to find what they need, but some who feel they lack those skills rely on recommendations from other people. So the research does not tell us a whole lot in the field of searching. Now in the next competency, navigation, we have a little bit more to work with. Navigation means making your way among branching options, which we do constantly, essentially every time we click on anything, anywhere on the internet. In terms of YouTube, there are two particular features that have been studied that will show us how this works. One is the old feature of video responses, which, if you guys remember how these used to work, underneath a YouTube video, you could post a video response, which would be something that would automatically appear on the original video page. Now, if you do remember this, you'll remember that these were pretty much useless because people decided to spam these, advertisers used them. A lot of times they had nothing to do with the original video. A group of computer scientists studied this and found that because of the content pollution in video responses, they became useless, and that is why YouTube removed this feature in 2013. A more useful feature is video recommendations, which are those YouTube videos that appear at the side of the one you're watching, or that pop up at the end. These ones have also been studied by computer scientists and found to be useful in that they guide people to videos that they will actually find useful and that are related to what they're looking for. So in this case, we can say that when we're looking to learn something on YouTube, the YouTube features aid in our navigational skills, because when features become useless, like video responses, YouTube removes them, and when they're useful, like video recommendations, then they stay. And users can tell which features are actually helpful and which are not. The next competency of evaluation. This one is not going to be pretty. Evaluation on the internet essentially means deciding who and what to trust, because on the internet we don't have a lot of guideposts or authority to go on, particularly on sites like YouTube. In some cases, this can be downright dangerous. For example, there have been a couple of studies looking at CPR videos on YouTube. Before I started this, I had no idea that anyone even learned CPR from YouTube, but it turns out a lot of people do. One study found of several hundred YouTube videos on CPR that were evaluated, over 80% contained serious omissions or errors. And what's worse, the inaccurate ones were just as highly viewed and just as well rated as the accurate ones. So we are not good at this. There's no sign that the inaccurate videos are judged to be inaccurate. Our evaluation of them does not seem to be doing us any good. It's not just in CPR. This has been studied throughout several public health fields, including information on eating disorders, pregnancy safety, and related topics. And they all look pretty much the same. We're just not good at it. The next skill, knowledge assembly, is a little bit more ambiguous. There are several features of YouTube that seem to be helpful for putting together useful resources, such as playlists, and on the YouTube homepage, the ability to subscribe to videos and to create watch later lists and other features appear to be useful in assembling knowledge on a certain topic. Unfortunately, this area has not yet been studied enough for us to say. So researchers, get on that and give us something here to work with. The last skill in our 5, that of participation, is particularly interesting. Participation on the modern internet means creating content and taking part in the discussion. Now, the discussion on YouTube, as you probably know, is generally not all that productive. These are a few of the comments on one of the How to Change Your Oil videos, and I deliberately chose some that were family-friendly, unlike some of the comments that I could have picked. And as you can see, these comments are not really adding much to the discussion. They're not evaluating the content or giving anything of substance. And in fact, someone did a study on this. They found that there are very few people who actually upload videos. Despite those almost 6 million How to Change Your Oil videos, the number of uploaders are vastly outnumbered by those of us who just watch content and don't actually generate any. And there was actually a study on YouTube comments on informal learning videos that found that the comments were not very substantive, and by and large were just social in nature. So in these two senses, we're not participating very much. But sharing itself, sharing YouTube videos on other platforms like Facebook and Twitter, are a form of participation when it comes to informal learning. And in fact, there was a study of a site called Banjo Hangout, which used YouTube videos on the topic of banjo playing, that found that although there might not be much useful commentary on the YouTube site itself, on the Banjo Hangout site, there was a lot of useful and productive discussion. So a lot of the participation actually takes place in other venues that are not part of YouTube. So those are the 5 competencies that make up digital literacy as it pertains to informal learning on YouTube. Some of us can search effectively and some can't. Some navigational features are useful. Evaluation we are just really not good at, collectively speaking. Knowledge assembly is too ambiguous at this point to tell. And participation is useful in some senses, but lacking in others. So overall, we're looking at a very fractured and ambiguous landscape of how well digital literacy really helps us learn from YouTube. So what do I recommend? For teachers, I would say to help your students develop these skills. There are a lot of good digital literacy curricula out there that you can rely on. And for users, for all of us, when we're learning something from YouTube, which I do very frequently, just remember to be very critical and conscious of the potential pitfalls that you could fall into. Thank you for watching my presentation on digital literacy and informal learning on YouTube. If you'd like to learn more, check out the links in the video description below.